Okay, welcome everybody to today's Nature Live event. My name's Alison. I'll be your host for this afternoon. Now, if those of you that haven't maybe been to one of Nature Live events before, Nature Live is really a chance for you guys to take a peek at the amazing things that go on behind the scenes here at the museum. With over 80 million specimens and 350 scientists actively working, what you see out there in those halls is just the tip of a very, very large iceberg. So at Nature Live, you get a chance to find out about some of the scientific research going on behind the scenes at the museum, to see some of our collections that are usually kept out of the public eye, and to meet some of our museum scientists and find out what they've been up to as well. Now, all of that said, today's event is a little bit different. As you may know, today sees the opening of our brand new Wildlife Photographer of the Year exhibition. Very, very exciting. Have any of you managed to get to the exhibition yet? Hands up, let's have a show of hands. Oh, a few of you. See lots of hands down there. Very disappointing. Do have a look if you can, guys. It's absolutely amazing. I say this every year, but it seems to get better and better every year. Do have a look. Now, to celebrate the opening, we are taking a peek behind the lens to meet one of this year's winning entrants. Our special guest today is Connor Stefanison. He is a professional photographer, and he is winner of this year's Rising Star Portfolio Award. Now, I have lots of questions for Connor, but I'm sure you guys will have as well. And we want this to be very informal, very interactive, so if you do have a question at any point, don't be shy, just raise your hand. And I should say going ooh and ah at the images throughout the presentation is positively encouraged as well, guys. Now, Connor, welcome. Thank you for coming today and congratulations on your awards.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me. Much bigger audience than expected.
It's great, isn't it? Now, Connor, if you could begin by just telling us a little bit about yourself. How did you start out in wildlife photography? How long have you been a photographer?
So I'm 24 now. I started when I was 18, back in 2008. And I've always been mountain biking and skiing and doing a lot of extreme sports throughout my life, and a lot of camping, fishing, just general outdoor activities. So I started by taking pictures of my friends going off jumps mountain biking, because we would all want pictures of each other. And everyone in the mountain bike community really actually knows a lot about photography and is a decent photographer just because it's such a big part of the sport. So started kind of doing that, and then my whole background of outdoor activities, I kind of realized, oh, there's this great lake down the street at my house. I should go take shots of birds there or something. And my neighbor's dad was a really good wildlife photographer, or still is, and he took my friend and I to a camera club. So ever since then, I kind of got hooked on it. The camera club's very, very kind of outdoor photography oriented. So ever since then, I was just kind of immediately hooked, switched to wildlife right away, and just obsessed since then.
Okay, so did your interest in wildlife generally develop with the photography? Or is it something you were always passionate about?
It was something I was always passionate about. Although now with photography, I appreciate stuff more, see a lot more stuff. I'll spend more time, like if I'm driving before photography and I saw an animal, look at it for a while. But now, of course, spend hours and hours with them. So you see a lot more stuff. Photography is also good because it allows you to appreciate any type of weather condition, or really anywhere you are, because you can kind of see pictures. So if it's a rainy day, I'm not necessarily bummed out, because I just have to imagine, oh, what kind of cool pictures can I take in this type of condition? So it's good. It allows you to not be bored.
And you're based in British Columbia, is it?
Yeah,
That's
in Vancouver.
Photogenic country, isn't it? So I imagine there's a lot of inspiration just out your front door.
British Columbia, Vancouver especially, is a great place. I could spend the rest of my life there, never leave, and be completely satisfied with what there is to shoot.
Now, you are winner of this year's Rising Star Portfolio Award. So you didn't just enter one image. How many images did you actually enter?
In the whole contest, you can enter 20 photos. And then in this category, you can enter 10, and the judges choose their favorite 6. So I entered 10 into this, and then 10 into just random other adult categories.
And what do you think it was that the judges were looking for? Was it a coherent body of work?
They don't look for a story. You just enter your 10 best. I've heard that in this category they like to look for innovative techniques, uh, a various range of skills, kind of diversity of pictures. Um, so I kind of try and mix stuff up like with that.
So let's take a look at one of your winning images. This one I'm choosing, I think, because has a bit of a story behind it, doesn't it? This wasn't the
Yeah.
shot you intended to take.
This is the main picture that they nominated for the grand prize. Every winner has a shot which is nominated, so this is the one that they chose. And this is a picture that I absolutely didn't want to take. It's a camera trap picture, which means I wasn't there. The bear has to walk through a infrared beam, which sets off the camera. So I've been doing a lot of camera trap stuff in this forest, and I got some trail cam pictures of a western spotted skunk. And western spotted skunks were thought to be potentially extirpated from British Columbia. They thought maybe there's a couple, but there is no really known skunks around. So I got 3 of them somehow, not really by doing anything, just got them in. So this was the first setup that was the skunk-specific setup. I just wanted to get a decent record shot of one. We were trying to get a study going for them. So I put, just because I really wanted to just get the skunk that week, I put a little bit of meat out, of deer meat, and some bobcat scent, because that seems to attract them. So a little bit of meat, enough to get the skunk in, but not enough to get a bear, because black bears especially, are notorious for destroying camera traps. Grizzlies are really supposed to be really good, and they don't tamper with anything, but black bears are really bad. So
Very curious animals.
yeah, very curious. So when I set it up, I thought this is either going to be a pretty good shot of a skunk or a super close shot of a black bear, but hopefully not. I didn't even stake down my tripod because I wasn't expecting it. So then when I came back, looked up and my tripod was knocked over, and I knew right away it had to be a black bear.
So it was a really happy accident. You got an award-winning shot.
Yeah, it was good. Nothing broke. Everything turned out well, so I was happy with it. And just to show what a camera trap is, maybe let's click on this one. So this isn't the same setup, but this is basically what my camera trap setups look like. So you can see the mouse. So my camera's in a box here, a Pelican case protected box, and then there's a sensor here and one out of frame that you can't see. So the animal has to pass through there, and then there's you can see some flashes in plastic bags on the trees. So it's a really fun type of photography. You never know what you're going to get. It's always exciting to come back to the camera, see what types of photos you got. I got a black bear on this setup as well, and when I got back, the camera was turned around with a lot of slobber on the lens.
Oh dear. But no damage, hopefully.
Yeah, no damage.
Now, there was another image in this year's portfolio that I particularly liked. There was another image that I particularly liked in this portfolio. It's this one here. I love the way that it's framed. I think it's absolutely beautiful. And I love the character in this one as well.
Yeah, it's kind of strutting along. This is one of my all-time favorite photos. And if some of you may know, some of you may not, I won this same category in 2013, 2 years ago. And I took this right before that year's deadline. So I could have entered it then, but I hadn't discovered it yet, actually. So I saved it until now. Did
you go out looking to get that specific shot, or?
Not quite that specific shot. I went up to get the ravens, though. Not necessarily that composition, but I was about to not even go up this day. My sister and my dad went up snowshoeing. It's just this is a popular kind of exercise snowshoe trail. So I figured I'll go up, and there's always ravens at the top. This is where everyone eats lunch, so they're hanging around everyone.
And how long did you have to wait to get that shot?
I was only up there for about half an hour.
Oh, not bad at all.
Around. There's a lot of action going on with all the birds, so it was a lucky day.
Now, we've mentioned you have had success previously in Wildlife Photographer of the Year. You won the same award in 2013, then called the Eric Hosking Awards, and we've got some lovely images from that submission as well. Now, is this your favourite? Yeah,
this is the main shot from 2 years ago, and this is still what I consider my best picture. And funny thing about that is that this is also the closest photo I've taken to home. It's about 2 blocks away, or not too far. Sometimes this owl's flown
Wow.
into the tree
So yeah,
in front of my
you
house.
can literally outside your front
Yeah.
door, you can find inspiration.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. It is a really beautiful image. The other image that I absolutely love is this one here. I think it's absolutely stunning. It's such a kind of mysterious, sort of alien-looking environment. What are we looking at here?
So this one, to me, a lot of people are really confused by it. They really like it. When I first took it, I thought it was a pretty good shot, but my mom was blown away by it, and she said, "You have to put this in." Everyone's liked it a lot more than I did.
Absolutely.
That's because I know the scale of the picture and what I'm taking a shot of, but nobody else does. So I remember at the last award in the exhibit, people would come up and talk to me about the picture, and I'd ask them, how tall do you think the biggest tree is? Just shout out some numbers, how tall you guys think it is, approximately. 60. So it's only about 6 feet tall.
Really?
Yeah, and everyone that I've asked is around 100 feet or something, they'll say, right? So the scale is really weird, so I guess that's why there's all that mystery about the photo, but people think that the small little twigs at the bottom are full-size trees.
Yeah,
and
that's exactly what I thought.
yeah. But it's a geothermal hot spring in Yellowstone National Park. The colors are all different algae, cyanobacteria, and the colors change at all times of year. So in the summer, this is kind of just all red and plain, but in the winter, you get all the greens and oranges and different colors.
It's stunning, and I'm betraying my complete ignorance of photography here. But is there any particular camera technique you use to get a shot like that? Just how do you get that kind of image?
It's kind of a mid-range focal length, and then I think it was a 1 second exposure. So because it's a hot spring, there's mist swirling around, so that you get a little bit more of the swirling action in the top right coming around. But nothing really. That's basically it.
Okay. Can I ask the audience, do we have any questions of Connor at this point? Oh, yep, we've got one right at the back there.
Hi. Sorry. I'm standing on a boardwalk. So it's a whole hot spring terrace, and so I'm standing, and the land kind of goes flat and then up. So I'm looking at the steep part. So those trees are up like this, and and it's pretty steep. So it's kind of a wall. But I'm probably 30 yards away. Oh no, you can't walk. You're on a boardwalk. There's a fence. The water's quite hot. You might have.
Now, we've spoken about the 2 awards. Have they had any kind of impact on your career as a photographer?
This contest, I can't thank this contest enough for jump-starting everything. After 2 years ago, I basically became a professional photographer just from this contest. It was crazy.
Oh, that's fantastic. But I think talent and hard work has something else to do with it as well. Now, Connor does have a website, actually, if you want to look at more of his work. And the thing that struck me from looking at your website is there's quite a lot of variety in terms of the subject matter. You photograph animals, landscapes, there are people as well. Do you have a particular favourite subject that you like photographing?
I probably spend the most of my time shooting birds. That's partly because birds are easy and accessible. They're everywhere. It's hard to just always go out and photograph bears if you live in the city. Although Vancouver is good for that. But I really like common loons, or in the UK you call them great northern divers, and owls I really like. But generally wildlife. I really enjoy shooting people now too. That's kind of a new thing, almost as much as wildlife.
And do you think you have a particular style of photography? Do you go for images that are very aesthetically beautiful? Do you prefer to capture behaviors, something dramatic?
Behavior is always kind of an ultimate goal in what you're going to capture in your image. My style that you can kind of see is animals in the environment. So I shoot a lot with wide-angle lenses. My whole portfolio this year, except for the whole portfolio this year is the whole top row. So there's trees at the same hot springs again, different year. But that's the only picture that isn't a wide-angle wildlife picture. So the rest of them kind of show the animal in the environment. I really like that because it tells a story of where the animal lives, the conditions that there were that day. But that being said, telephoto pictures are very important to take too. So I enjoy telephotos. For example, showing detail or intimate moments with this loon picture and the next. A wide-angle image wouldn't be good at showing that, especially a moment like this. So when you guys walk around the exhibit today, try and notice all the different techniques that the photographers use. There's wide angles and there's telephotos, and they both work to tell a certain story.
What is it for you that makes a really great image? That kind of something that you think, yes, that's the one.
That's a question that all of the photographers ask of what to get in their photos, but it's a certain wow factor. Usually it's a lucky moment, something you can plan all you want for these photos, but the best ones I find are the ones where you've planned so much, everything goes right, but something lucky happens. Whether it be maybe the raven's not that great of an example, but just the way the legs are, or something happens. But it's the winning shots that the judges choose. They're going through thousands of photos. They got something like 42,000 this year, and they're going through them pretty quickly. The ones that are going to win are the ones that make them stop for just that little bit of extra time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, once you've chosen your subject, how do you get close to them? I know, obviously, you have set camera traps. What other methods do you use? Do you use hides? Do you set bait?
I use hides sometimes, not too much though. Some shots are baited. For example, the barred owl that we showed, that was with the dead mouse, and the black bear, that was with a little bit of meat. But I typically, if I don't have to do that, I prefer not to, of course. But a lot of the places, if I'm getting close to the animals are generally going to be fairly tame, and you want to make sure that you're in a safe situation with them. I wouldn't just go up to, say, these mountain goats. I'm pretty close to these. Mountain goats have killed people in the past.
Really?
A couple, yeah.
Wow, I had no idea. They were so dangerous.
So I spent a few days with these goats, and you're not just going to go up to them right away. You got to really look at their behavior and see how they're acting, and then once you know, you're comfortable around them. But they're always still animals. You always have to be vigilant.
Yeah. So it's about getting them used to you, but also being wary at the same time. Don't getting too relaxed yourself.
Yeah.
It doesn't look too comfortable actually up there in the mountains. Now, do you research your subjects? Once you know you want to take a photograph, do you kind of research their behavior, find out a bit about them, their habits?
If there's something I don't know, you kind of research what time of year they're in a certain area, what kind of habitats they like, maybe when the breeding season is. If I don't know, I'll definitely do some Google searches or research other people's images to kind of see maybe what kind of behaviors they're doing at certain types of year and stuff like that. So
So for example, the shot here with the fox, when I was looking at that, I thought you must have had spent some time watching this animal, trying to anticipate what it was going to do to be able to get that kind of shot.
this was foxes are a favorite subject for all wildlife photographers, and for years I'd always wanted to photograph a fox. This was the first fox that I'd ever really had a good look at and had a chance to photograph. And I actually didn't spend too long with it. Got out of the car, spent maybe 10 minutes of it. It was hunting. I saw it kind of stop and stare, knew what was probably going to happen, rattled a couple shots off, then it hunted off and left. So it was good. It was good for the first fox, but it was
a
definitely
great
a
shot.
lucky moment.
So luck obviously plays quite a big part in good wildlife photography, do you think?
Yeah,
Obviously, there's a lot of planning involved, but then there's that element of luck.
yeah. There's always a little bit of luck, but generally, a lot of the pictures that you're going to see in the exhibit have been planned a lot, and people went out specifically to get that shot. Yeah. It used to be when I started, I'd go out and just see what I would get, but now there's some intent and some sort of goal every day.
Sure. What's the most difficult kind of conditions you've had to endure to get a good shot?
I've been in a lot of conditions where, like in the tropics, it's super humid and you're sweating and it's uncomfortable, or you're up north in Canada and it's super windy and cold. But I think the worst was second image. This was taken in central BC, kind of in a marsh. And the most uncomfortable part about this photo was all those spots are all mosquitoes. And it looks like there's a lot here, but I have other pictures, and my friend was with me. He has others of just clouds of mosquitoes around us. And to make things worse, I have grass allergies, and it's kind of springtime up there, so all the marsh grass is blooming. So it's a mixture of clouds of mosquitoes around you and trying to blow your nose all the time and be still with trying to get the shot. So that was, and we spent kind of a week around this area. So it was that was extremely uncomfortable. Always kind of dreaded going out.
Oh, that's great. To me, that looks like such a nice, calm, serene
Yeah.
image, and you just wouldn't know what he went through to get that shot. Well done. Do we have any more questions from the audience?
Yeah, that's holding the camera in one hand and a flash in the other. Yeah.
Well, I have a question. If there was anywhere in the world that you could go to photograph, or any animal that you would really, really love to photograph that you haven't yet, where would it be, or what would it be?
2 weeks ago, if you asked me that, I would have said muskox, but I ticked that off last week. I went to Norway before coming here. But now I'd like to do a lot of underwater stuff, photographing things like salmon or sea lions. I've always really wanted to go to Kyrgyzstan. It just looks like a really interesting country. It's kind of like a mix of Montana and Alaska.
Okay.
But that's always one that I kind of look at. That's just very interesting. More so culturally than for wildlife to me.
Brilliant. And do you have any tips for any budding wildlife photographers here in the audience?
When I look back at thinking of what I could have done when I started, was just to not really worry about what people wanted to see in the photographs and just shoot what you like to shoot. If you like it enough, you'll go out and shoot enough, and the more you shoot, the more practice, the better. Shooting locally is really important as well. In wildlife photography, you'll say, oh, you got to go to Africa to get the best shots. You got to go to Antarctica, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, the barred owl picture right behind my house, it's my best shot. So the more time you spend in your local areas, the more familiar you are with the wildlife. So I think it's really important to not get too caught up in the exotics and just kind of stick to your local stuff.
And people tend to think that it's quite an expensive hobby. Do you need lots and lots of expensive equipment
So
to get started?
I have a lot of expensive equipment, but that being said, so the most expensive equipment in wildlife photography are the big super telephoto lenses, the 500, 600 mil lenses. But my whole portfolio this year is taken with wide angles, which is kind of if you buy a DSLR camera with a combo kit, that's the type of lens that you're going to get. So a lot of my friends who are wedding photographers or portrait photographers, they'll say, "Oh, I'd really like to get into wildlife photography, but it's too expensive. Can't afford all the gear." They already have the gear. They have the